In this session, I'm going to talk to you about SPSS. This is a software I'll be using for analyzing data gathered from collection from either primary data sources or secondary data sources. Here's the thing you do when you've gone through the various steps of the research process. Once you've gone through the steps of formulating the problem, designing the research design, and gathering data. Once you've accomplished all those steps, the next step is to analyze the data. And that's where we are. That's where SPSS comes in the picture. A common question is, well, why use this fancy software when we have familiar Excel? Everybody understands the basic, ubiquitous Excel software out there, and its Mac equivalent. It is easily the most widely used software out there, but with all the positives come some negatives also. The main drawback that Excel has is that it doesn't scale very well and has limited analysis capabilities. Excel was designed to be a very flexible spreadsheet software for handling a certain number of numbers, and over time, it added capabilities for formatting information to make it look visually appealing. You can also make some basic graphs. When it comes to more sophisticated analysis, Excel, however, pales in comparison to most software for analyzing data. In addition, the manner in which Excel manages data makes it less efficient. For instance, when working with Excel, you can enter your data in any part of the sheet. Your data does not have to begin in the top left-hand corner. It could begin in somewhere on the 100th row and column X, and that's perfectly fine. Such flexibility makes Excel also more inefficient. So we're going to use a software called SPSS because it is more computationally efficient and has a wider array of analytical capabilities than does Excel. IBM's SPSS is a costly piece of software. However, you don't have to worry about paying for it because your being a student at Pace University automatically includes software like IBM's SPSS. So I'm going to take you to the screen where you can find the software. Once you go to adam.pace.edu, you'll be able to locate many software you can download for free. Amongst these is IBM SPSS. When you click on IBM SPSS, it will show you options for installing it on both a Mac and Windows. You have a link here for new Windows install and new Mac install. You also have a link for license renewal. Let me first click on the third link here called license renewal. When I click on that, it takes me to a page which has options for the SPSS version to use. We're going to be using the most recent version, no reason to use an older version. So SPSS 28 is selected already. That's great. The next link is to download the license renewal file. I'm going to click on that. When I do, it's going to download a notepad file, a text document that has my software key in it. Now, because this is a recorded, publicly available video, I'm not going to open up that file and expose that key. But realize that once you're on here, you will be able to obtain your own license key from this link. Now, the links below that have detailed instructions of how to go about the installation process for Windows and Mac. They have the instructions show you the different screens you're going to go through and the information you'll enter to complete the installation process. You can, of course, take a look at that. I'll walk you a few steps in that direction to get you going. And of course, you can supplement your, you can always look at those instructions if you ever get stuck. So going back to the previous page, we're back to the IBM SPSS download page. Now, based on your OS, you will pick Windows install or Mac install. I'm running a Windows machine, so I'll click on Windows install. And in doing so, I end up with a page that has some basic instructions. Now, it is critically important that your computer has at least a certain amount of free disk space available. I know many folks like to cram in a lot of information into their hard drive with photographs and videos. It's very easy to consume even 256 gigabytes of hard drive space. So if you don't have enough room in your computer hard drive, please make some room. Move some stuff off the, excuse me, off of your hard drive, put it in a flash drive. Most flash drives now have at least about, 32 gigs, 64 gigs of space available to get stuff off your hard drive so you have room on your hard drive. You also need a computer with at least 4 GB of RAM. Now, most computers, exceed that, so that should not be a constraint. Now, below this is a link for the SPSS, again, license authorization file, which of course you can get it from here as well, and the SPSS 28 installation file. So click on the authorization file, you get a same file you would have gotten if you had clicked the link from that I showed you before. And then is a SPSS 28 installation file. Now this link here, the second one, will download a large installation file, which might take a couple of minutes to download, or even as long as an hour. So, this might be a good time to start the installation file and go get a cup of coffee. The installation instructions are here with more details about how to go about the process. So as you can see, my download has begun. It's almost a gigabyte of an executable file. When it opens up, it's going to take even more room, hence the recommendation to have at least 4 GB of hard disk space available in your computer. Here are the instructions I spoke about earlier that tell you a bit more about how to install the software. So you can follow this instruction step by step to learn about how to install the software on the machine. Okay. So once your software is downloaded, you will be able to open the folder, file, and go through some windows. And the key here is just go with the defaults, accepting the terms and conditions, and then going forward, letting it install it in the default folder. And the process might take about a few minutes to install. Just in case you don't have administrator privileges on your machine, you may have to go into admin mode or administrator mode to install the software on your machine. So something to kind of bear in mind there. Once you're through with the installation process, and that's this last window will tell you you're done with the installation process. Your next step is to activate your IBM SPSS statistics software. This you can do by going through the Activate IBM SPSS Statistics window and launching the license wizard. Or you can find the IBM SPSS Statistics, relevant version 28 license authorization wizard as one of your installed apps or software. And when you load that up, it will give you the option of entering in your key. The key you would have gotten from the license authorization file. Now, once you're here, you're going to click on the second of these two things, the Launch License Wizard. And then we'll go to a window and then yet another window. And here you will choose Authorize User License, the first of the two options. Enter in the license authorization number, which you're going to get from the license authorization file. Just copy paste those digits, alphanumeric key in, the digits in, and that should be it. Once you finish with the process, submit, you'll be able to utilize SPSS software. Let me give you a glimpse of what the software looks like when you're all done and installed with the software. So I'm loading it up in my end. This is a large software, so just to get it up and going, it does take a few seconds. You've got to be a little patient to wait for it to load. Okay, so I have finally got it to load in my end. Let me go and share my screen. So whenever you load SPSS, what it does is it shows you two screens. So I'm going to show you, it's going to have this pop-up type screen. I know we all find pop-up screens annoying. So what you can do here is, I'll show you the pop-up screen that shows up when you load up SPSS. I will typically always go and say close and just, be done with that pop-up screen, which will then leave me with the big spreadsheet window looks like this. So here's a spreadsheet view of SPSS. I'll give you a quick walk through the software. We have here in the bottom a data view tab and a variable view tab. When you click on data view, it contains all of the numbers in your spreadsheet. The numbers must begin in the top left-hand corner and must be rectangular in shape. So your data must always begin here, and you must have, a rectangular shape to your data, as in you cannot have data that is, you can have one number here, one here, one here. That's not okay in SPSS. The second thing that is different from most, basic spreadsheet software is that the variable view is separate. So in here, you might have variables like in Excel, you say column A, B, C, so on. Here, we're going to give them variable names. And these variable names will be defined in more detail in the variable view. For instance, this is, let's say, V1. Then V1 will be described in the variable view section. It may have a type, is it number, numeric, is it string, the width, label, so on. And in data view, you'll see a column called V1. Okay, that's a little bit about the structure of the spreadsheet or the spreadsheet tabs. Now, like in most software, you could either open the file by, you can go to click on the icon here, or the file open option to open a data file. There's edit, undo, copy type options there. Now the key create menu options in Excel are the ones that are data, which tell you a few things about how you can manage your data, how you can transform or modify a variable using transform menu options. And then all the analysis is under the analyze menu. So the analyze menu is by far when you spend the most amount of time in whenever you want to make sense of your data. There are some graphing capabilities, but they're okay. They're nothing to write home about. Okay, that's a quick rundown on how on the SPSS menu, SPSS interface. Okay, there is just one more thing I wanna. Okay, let me just show you two more things. Give me just one sec while I pull up something I hadn't planned for earlier. Now, I highly recommend using a desktop installation of SPSS because I believe it's a good choice. It gives you control wherever you are. You could be working on your on the analysis. You don't have to rely on Wi-Fi or network or any of those things because the software is installed on your own machine. That is sort of like what I recommend you do. Just in case you you're not, for whatever reason, able to install SPSS on your own machine, there is one other option, and I plan to share that with you in just a moment. So I'm going to share with you a window where I'll show you how you can get a virtual version of SPSS. So let me open another tab out here. This one is a tab that's going to have virtuallab.pace.edu. Now, once you go on here, you'll be able to plug in your PACE credentials and have access to a virtual machine. This is a machine not on your own computer. Pardon me, I got to authenticate myself here. Okay, so this, of course, you already know this dual authentication. You may have to do this every week. Okay, and so once you do the authentication, you'll be into the virtual machine. This virtual machine, again, it's something on think of it as a cloud-based software. It's not on your own computer, but you have access to it. And on here are software like Ibm Spss Statistics. You could click on Ibm Spss Statistics and open it up, or there you go, click on open. And now you'll get sort of like an interface of SPSS that might take a few more seconds to load because you're in a virtual machine and all. And depends on how many folks are logged in at that time. It might put a lot of stress on that machine. Once it loads up, you'll see an interface that feels just like your own machine. But bear in mind, it's not your own machine. And because it is not your own machine, it is going to place one one limitation upon you. Let's see if I can find some information about this. I can't find the file right now offhand. 1 second. Okay, so we're still waiting on SPSS to load out here in this particular window, and here we are. We get that annoying pop-up window from SPSS, and in here is our software. So the software in the virtual space, virtual lab, looks just like a software in your own machine. Again, looks very natural, and it's fantastic in that sense. The part that's not so fantastic is the fact that getting software on and off of here isn't that easy. Remember, it's not your own machine, so you got to push software to the cloud, analyze it there, and then when you're done, push data to the cloud, analyze it. When you're done with the data, bring it back to your machine, download it off of that virtual machine. I'll share instructions with you of how to go about this process. Briefly, here is where you can find more about it. Here's a little document that has more instructions on how to access the virtual desktop interface. It details the software available and how to save your work, how to upload a file, and so on and so forth. It's all shared out here. Okay, so that is an option to utilize if and only if you are unable to install the software in your own machine. Bear in mind, that is my recommendation is install it in your machine. If nothing, when you're done with PACE, if you're no longer a student out here, you can still continue using the software for, I think, about another year or so after you leave the university. So you're getting free software. Why not have that on your machine, then leave it on the cloud? Okay, so that's a lot about the software and how to install it. The next thing I'm going to speak to you about here is, I'm going to close these windows. That's the cloud. I'm going to close the cloud installations out here and the installation option. Now, there is a nice book by Andy Field called Discovering Statistics Using IBM Spss Statistics. If there's a 6th edition, you can get a hold of that edition. It's not, I mean, I guess it's $64 or so. Maybe you can get a used edition, a rent edition. I think it's an exceptional book to get familiar with a lot of the analysis techniques. Bear in mind, I'm going to go over many of these topics in great detail in class, and you're going to have the videos available with you. But should you want more information, should you want more detail, the book is a great, I highly recommend getting a hold of this book if you anticipate struggling with anything to do with the software SPSS. Now, I know we live in a world where videos are, seen as being better than reading an old-fashioned paper book. Well, so here are the videos. I'm not going to YouTube. I'm going to LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a resource available to USPS University students. I have a link to this in the class as well. And here you can locate many different courses on how to analyze data in SPSS. One example is this course on SPSS Statistics Essential Training. There's some really nifty, cool things in these courses that will probably go into more depth than I'll be able to do in class. Just bear in mind, what we cover in class is sufficient for the course, but if you would like a deeper dive or clarification or another perspective on that, there are a lot of these cool courses out here. The one that I definitely recommend is this one called SPSS Statistics Essential Training. Okay, so we've gone over in this session how to install IBM SPSS software, the alternative virtual lab option, and in terms of learning resources, LinkedIn Learning, as well as Andy Field's book, Discovering Statistics Using SPSS. Thank you very much for joining me.